Welcome back to part 2 of Science first lesson Nutrition in Plants. In our previous video, we have studied about autotrophic mode of nutrition. We have also studied about photosynthesis, its reaction. Now let us study synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrates. It means plants can also synthesize fats and proteins. We have studied that during photosynthesis, plant produces carbohydrates or glucose. But when we are talking about nutrition, we mean all nutrients fulfillment like proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. So, how do plants get other nutrients? Because photosynthesis can only provide carbohydrates. Then what about other nutrients? For that, we will study about the various ways by which plants get other nutrients. First one is photosynthesis. We get carbohydrates through photosynthesis. Carbohydrates are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Next is soil. From soil we get minerals. Third one is nitrogen fixing bacteria. From air we get nitrogen, but plants cannot absorb nitrogen directly from air. So some bacteria present in soil helps in nitrogen fixing. Rhizobium bacteria live in the roots nodules and helps to convert nitrogen from air to soluble nitrogen compounds. Now this nitrogen can be absorbed by the plants. Protein are nitrogenous substance. So, with the help of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen along with nitrogen element, protein is produced. Sometimes glucose or carbohydrates is stored in the form of oil in their seeds, and hence it is nothing but fats in plants. Fertilizers also provide some nutrients. Now recall what we have studied in our first video about modes of nutrition. We have studied about autotrophic modes of nutrition. Now let us study about heterotrophic modes of nutrition. Do you know, children, there are some plants which do not contain chlorophyll in them and thus cannot prepare their own food. These plants obtain their food from other plants or animals. That is, they are heterotrophic in nature. Heterotrophs are of 4 types: insectivores, which eat insects; parasites, which grow on other plants for their nourishment; symbiotic, which depend on each other for their nourishment; saprotrophic plants, which depends on dead and decaying matter for their nourishment.
Heterotrophic mode of nutrition in plants. We know that green plants have chlorophyll, but there are some plants which do not have chlorophyll, so they cannot synthesize their food. Now, you will wonder, how do such plants survive? We know that heterotrophs, namely humans and animals, depend on plants for their food. Similarly, plants without chlorophyll also depend on food produced by other plants. This is called the heterotrophic mode of nutrition in plants. For example, Cuscuta plant, also called amarbel. Since this plant does not have chlorophyll, it climbs onto another plant and takes the ready-made food from it. The plant on which it climbs is called the host. So, we can say that the organism whose essential nutrients are deprived by another organism, such as a parasite, is called a host. Since this plant deprives the host of its valuable nutrients, it is called a parasite. The organism which obtains nutrients from another organism by depriving it of its essential nutrients is called a parasite. Note that although humans and animals depend on plants for their food, they are not parasites. This is because they do not deprive the plants of their essential nutrients. However, mosquitoes, bedbugs, lice and leeches are parasites because they suck human blood and depend on them for their food. Some green plants like Drosera, Venus flytrap, etc. are unable to obtain all the nutrients required to prepare their food from the soil or their surroundings. In such cases, these plants develop features which help them survive. They can trap insects and digest them. Plants which trap and feed on insects are called insectivorous plants. For example, pitcher plant. Let us study the parts of this plant. The leaf of this plant is modified in the shape of a pitcher. The apex of the leaf forms the lid. The function of the lid is to open and close the mouth of the pitcher. Inside the pitcher, there are hairs which are directed downwards. Now let us see how this plant traps insects. When an insect lands in the pitcher, its lid closes. Thus, the insect gets trapped and entangled in the hair. The pitcher plant digests the trapped insect by secreting digestive juices. Thus, insectivorous plants are partial heterotrophs. These plants, also called insect-eating plants, grow in soil containing less nutrients. So, they feed on animals like insects to fulfill their nutrient requirement.
Interesting video, isn't it, children? How exciting if we watch it in real, the above plants. Do you really want to observe all these plants in reality? Let us watch this video.
5 years ago, millions of years ago, a number of plants went through a remarkable adaptation. These photosynthetic plants live in nutrition-poor environments, often lacking in sufficient nitrogen, and so they evolved the capacity to supplement their diets by trapping and eating animal flesh. Like my mom used to say, if you need calcium, eat a milkman. Yep. That's what she said. Perhaps the most well-known of these carnivorous plants is the Venus flytrap. Its leaves are divided into 2 lobes hinged along a midrib. Small trigger hairs on each lobe are extremely sensitive to touch. When these hairs are bent, ion channels at the base of the hairs open. This generates an electrochemical signal, which then changes cells in the midrib and allow the lobes, which are held under tension, to snap shut. It is truly as if we are watching the subtle gears tick of nature's exquisite clock. Why did you bleep that? I said clock. You're making it sound like I'm saying cock. Oh, okay. The leaves shut in 2 phases. At first, the closure is fast, but only part of the way, trapping larger prey, but allowing smaller, less nutritious animals to escape. Hey, I saw that. That is so fucked up. As if the fly doesn't have enough to worry about. If the right size insect is captured, the finger-like cilia that lines the top of the leaves lace together, eventually forming an airtight seal so that the plant's digestive juices don't leak out and bacteria can't get in. Over the next 5 to 12 days, the insect, or very unlucky frog, is digested, after which the fly trap will open again. If this seems grotesque to you, imagine what a salad looks like to a plant. Think of this as revenge for your mixed greens of horror. If the fly trap is like getting your arms chopped off by the sneeze screen at a Chili's salad bar, the Drosera is death by lollipop hugging. The Drosera is also called the sun deer. Its tiny tentacle hairs glisten as though tipped with a drop of dew. It is in fact not deer, but rather mucilage secreted by the sun deer's mucilage glands. No, this mucilage is not like that peanut buttery lung cookie you throated up on the subway. This mucilage is a thick, sticky, glue-like substance that both ensnares and digests its prey. The tentacles respond to the slightest touch, causing other tentacles to slowly bend towards the prey and downwards. The more the animal struggles, the more they are entangled in this external stomach. Except if you are this spider. This spider does not give a f**k. Some of the largest carnivorous plants employ a different, more passive strategy. Nepenthes, or pitcher plants, have modified leaves that act as pitfall traps. Sugary nectar is secreted near the pitcher's peristome, or rim, drawing insects towards a slippery inner wall, which causes prey to fall into and eventually drown in the digestive juices below. What the hell angle is this for a shot? The inventor of the Kickstarter toilet cam finally caught a break. Yeah, totally, it's for nature videos. Just be #blessed that you don't have to worry about falling into a stomach. In Borneo, 3 species of Nepenthes engage in a mutualistic interaction with the mountain tree shrew. These plants produce toilet pitchers, which is already 2 words that should not be that close together. They exude a nectar in a way that is only readily accessible when the shrew places its butt over the pitcher's orifice. It's like a form of payment, like a restaurant with toilets as seats. It's a lot to take in. That's what the pitcher plant said. Mutualism is the way 2 organisms of different species exist in a relationship in which each individual benefits from the activity of the other. The shrew benefits from eating the exuded nectar, while the pitcher plant benefits because someone shits in its mouth. Win-win! The feces of the shrew is, in fact, a simple and efficient way for the plant